Fallout is terrible and horrible and that nobody should like it, you came to the wrong video. Uh, that's not what this video is about. These are just things that I don't like about Fallout, even though I am a fan of the Fallout franchise. And quite frankly, I'm just tired of running into these things. Jesus Christ. And also, I'm tired of my allergies that seem to always make me fucking crusty and sneezy. I'm sure somebody can tell me about their allergies in the comments. But one of the things that I always hated about Fallout is we have Fallout 1, okay? And the story is great. The story is great. The game kind of does, lets you do whatever you want to do. It has isometric view. Not a problem. Perfectly fine. It's a great game, great series. In the story, oh, the water filter breaks, you know, water filter breaks and everything, and your character, the chosen one, has to go and, find a replacement. Very simple, and along his way in his journey, he deals with the super mutant master. And it's a very zany, kind of goofy game and whatnot, and it has some really dark moments too, like with the whole squirrel bit thing and all that. Good stuff. Fallout 2. Okay, now you're playing as like a Brotherhood of Steel member, and he's trying to deal with the, he, she, but well, actually, in full on canon, we know it's a he. They are trying to get rid of the Enclave. They're trying to stop the Enclave. They're trying to put a linchpin in them. There's Frank Morgan. The Enclave are going to vaults. They're about to open up in mass murdering everyone. Just absolute bloodbath, absolute genocide. Because the Enclave pretty much likes no one. They only like themselves, and if you follow along with the lore of them, they don't even like each other. They're terrible. It's really, you know, the Brotherhood of Steel did kind of put them out. However, it's more the final blow was their infighting. And we find this more out in, Fallout New Vegas. Uh, Normal stuff, Uh, and then, this is a really in depth story, okay? And those two stories get left behind. Then we have Fallout Brotherhood and Fallout Tactics, and those games are terrible. Absolutely awful. Fallout 1 and 2 were done by the original creators and everything. A lot of those guys make up modern day ZeniMax now. Okay, great games, fantastic. But then you have Brotherhood, Tactics, and those two games are just they're not good. They're really terrible. Their story is awful. They took one of the main characters of the previous games and wrote him as basically like a 1980s action hero. Not a good one, but one of the terrible ones. Like they made him kind of in between a knockoff Snake Plissken and a Arnold Eraser. Um, Poor writing. Snake Plissken, there's a lot of subcontext. He's well written. He's an in-depth character. He has the world that is designed to make his character work. Okay, you can't pull off a Snake Plissken in any other world because you have to write the world around Snake Plissken. Okay, and Escape from New York and Escape from LA, fantastic movies if you haven't seen them. And then you got, like Eraser, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character from the film Eraser, that guy. Same thing. The world's written around that character. Okay, just the same way that the Skynet and like Terminator stuff written around all these things. It's world building. You can't just throw that character slap dab in the middle of a diner full of people and expect it to work, and he doesn't. You can make really cool references to things, Hell, Duke Nukem by 3D Realms, like 90% of that character in the world is just references. And a lot of them are hilarious because they're intentionally out of place and they're put in such a way that it's funny. One of them being, of course, like in Duke Nukem Forever, you see Master Chief's helmet, and Duke Nukem's offered green power armor. He's like, green power armor's for pussies. You know, really funny stuff. But that quote is actually ripped out of yet another thing. So it's two references in one. You can do references to things, but you cannot put whole ass things in a game and expect it to work. So these two games are terrible because they kind of try to do that. Then you have Fallout 3. And what is Fallout 3? Oh, uh, you know, this child leaves the vault to find their father. Okay, it's kind of an okay story. Yeah, whatever. It's not really that great of a story, but they make up for that by putting in a lot of context and things and audio logs and stuff uh, to develop that. Except on its surface, not really. So unless you're willing to spend hours and hours listening to audio logs and finding evidence and going to different locations, it's not really that great of a story. This is about as good as when Destiny 1 made an entire website where you had to collect grimoires in game and then use the code from those grimoires to go to a website and enter it in and then read lore entries. Like, nobody's gonna fucking do that. Most people aren't. Not unless you get really invested in the game. But, it's forgivable because at least it's there. It's kind of like the story in porn, it's there, but you don't really pay attention to it. And except the difference is, especially, they didn't really run with that, like ID Software did, and with Doom. The story's there, but it's kind of like porn. It's expected to be there, but it's not really important. And they ran with it and they made it hilarious. I mean, they literally had Doom Guy interrupt any kind of conjecture story, and he just constantly does that. It's a running gag. Okay, fair enough. Fallout 4 is what? Oh, it's the parent trying to find the child now. Ooh, we reversed the same exact story. I'm sorry, what? Oh, and where do we find our children, by the way? You find the child in, well, the institute, and the institute is basically in an underground vault. Where do you find the father in Fallout 3? Oh, in an underground vault. In fact, in a vault, I think Vault 71 it was. And that vault was well written because you enter in like a simulation. It's kind of like a subtle nod to the Matrix, but it's also a subtle nod to a very old episode of Twilight where um, a person figures out they're in a simulation. It's interesting. If you guys can probably find that episode of the Twilight Zone. And there was also another. It's also kind of a nod to another thing where a person's having a dream. I can't remember. I want to say it was Tales of the Crypt, but it might have been Stephen King's stories, or it might have been another one. But the chick's in a coma. She committed a crime where she murdered her husband, and the detective's trying to get her to come out the coma by talking to her. In her coma, she's living in basically a simulation reality where she didn't murder her husband, but the detective kind of keeps appearing and interrupting this dream. Uh, Subtle nod to that, and it's several references in one, but it's well written and it gives you some kind of enjoyment. It's interesting. They even go so far as to mix things up by removing the color, so the simulation's in black and white, but people don't seem to notice. Just subtle touches, and the overseer of that vault is a fucking psychopath. Oh my god, but it's still fantastic. Perfectly normal stuff. And there's even a little joke where you find out your dad's like the dog. So you can kick the dog, you can pet the dog. and your dad will react to that after the simulation. Okay, but in Fallout 4, you don't get any of that. Oh, it's you found your son, but he's actually older than you because he was let out of cryo freeze a lot earlier than you, and he's dying of cancer. Whoop de fucking do. It just doesn't land. It doesn't stick. So Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 don't stick. The previous two games before that don't stick. You know, we have Cinemax and Obsidian where they understand the lore better than Bathsheba does, better than other people do, and they don't rely on that. And so we get things like New Vegas, where New Vegas is so damn good. All it relies on story to make up for the issues and the glitches and the bugs of gameplay. Okay, it's so damn good. And then you look at, Fallout 76 and it's like, what the fuck is this? There's not even a story. That oh, the character is drunk and hung over. Bathsheba is terrible at making beginnings. And they're terrible at creating a quest line that doesn't just immediately skyrocket you to the very end of the game. It's like they know that their story is crap, so they don't even try. And they don't assist you in allowing you to explore. And the way that they tried to do it in Fallout 4 was terrible because Preston Garvey is quite frankly annoying and everybody complains about him for good damn reason. Uh, you know, and what is Starfield? Like, what's up with that one? And you can't tell me Starfield's just not an extended Fallout game because they use the same engine that's outdated, and that's another thing I hate about Fallout is they keep using the same. They just modify it a little bit and throw it out there, and they slapdash it, and they expect. I don't know what they expect, and so that's another thing that I hate. So they have this crappy story. They have people that they know that they're connected to that can build a really excellent story, but do they ever use them? No. They underutilize those people and instead they throw out their slapdash story on their slapdash engine. And their excuse for doing this is going, oh, well, modders are familiar with our engine, and so we're going to keep using it for no apparent reason. Even though modders have told them, like, no, don't like get a new engine. We hate making mods for this engine because it's the same crap we have to keep dealing with, and it's getting worse every time we touch it. Have you noticed any mods for Starfield? There's kind of a lacking amount. How about mods for 76? There's not as many as there should be. Fallout 4, there's quite a few, but it's 2024 now, and the number of mods is not anything extraordinary. It's kind of subpar for the course. You look at games not made by Bathsheba, and there's just as many mods. Just look at like Project Zomboid or Cyberpunk or any of those. And those two games, by the way, a lot of potential. They're just not quite finished yet. They're not a finished product. And I won't sit there and say Cyberpunk is a finished product because, well, it's not. CD Projekt Red kind of undercooked it on that one. Uh, you know, it is what it is on that one, but it has potential. Fallout, it's like they keep doing the same thing and it just keeps running out of potential. And it's sad because if another company touches the game and tinkers around the game, it has a lot of potential. You can't go and play Fallout 76 and go, there's a lot of potential. But you can go and play Fallout New Vegas and go, hey, there's a lot of potential in this. Having developed the game and actually only worked on it for 6 months, because they basically had like a year to do it, but they realistically only had 6 months to do it. A lot of potential there. There's a lot of things. They just got to figure out, if they made a New Vegas 2, they would need Fallout 4's gunplay. Keep the same level of story writing. And that's it. It would be the perfect fucking game. But, has Bathsheba done anything about it? No, they've gotten too big for their britches. And that's the other thing. I hate Bathsheba, the company itself, just on that basis. What is it with them and their half-baked products? They make these games half baked. They really do. They're unfortunately some of them are really good. However, when it comes to promotional materials, like with the Fallout helmet that was causing like mold and disease in people, uh, just stop making physical products altogether. Let some third party company do. Because every time you do, you give somebody like mold poisoning and you end up like hospitalizing over 30 people. Fallout 4 helmet. Fallout 3 helmet. Fallout 2 helmet. Just stay away from helmets. And the Nuka Cola rum. I'm sorry, what? You know what that Nuka Cola rum is like? I'll tell you how to make it. You go and buy a bottle of Kraken and buy a bottle 805. Boil down the bottle 805, add brown sugar to that, and then add it to the bottle of Kraken. Tastes exactly the same because it's cheap, crappy rum and it's not anything special. It's not like a bottle of Plantation. Okay, it's not like one of the better Malibus. It's not any of those. It's not rum chata. It's just, oh, here's a rum and it's a dark rum for no reason other than to say that it's a dark rum. And half of those dark rums, for you so called alcohol connoisseurs out there, by the way, most of those are made with food coloring. That's how they make it so dark. Kraken is probably the only example of them not doing that, but it's still not a good rum. Actually, kind of a pathetic rum. So, what is these promotional materials? And here's the other thing: Fallout's rated M. Okay, that's fair enough, but not all of Fallout fan base is going to be of drinking age. And never once did I think, oh, I play this video game. I would love if they made an alcoholic beverage. I have a bottle of Wild Turkey 101 Kentucky bourbon, like 4 feet from me. I have a bottle of Empress 1908 gin. I'm an alcohol drinker, okay? I'm an alcohol connoisseur. I like a wide variety. I even like rye whiskey, okay? I enjoy it. I enjoy vodka. I enjoy gin. I enjoy fucking peppermint schnapps. I enjoy bourbon. I enjoy all these alcohols. But not once did I think I would want to buy an alcohol from a video game company. And this is not the case of Nintendo, where, Nintendo makes printers and they make ink and they make old school video games and they make handheld devices. It's not a case of that. It's not the case of Yamaha, where they make guitars, washing machines, and motorcycles. It's not the case of any of that. It's not like they've had the manufacturing capabilities to do any of these things, and or the skill and engineers or any of those people. No, they licensed alcohol out to a Canadian company, because if there's anybody known for their really good liqueur, it's Canada. They're totally not known for high proof beers. And when you think of rum, first of all, it legally cannot be called rum unless it's made in the Caribbean. That's like an actual law. You can't call bourbon a bourbon unless it's made in America. You can't call Cavassier a Cavassier unless it's made in France. You can't call Irish whiskey unless it's made in Ireland. This was like a whole gathering of United Nations thing. Okay, this was, and actually Russia could have been a part of it, but Soviet Russia was like, oh no, it's capitalist agenda, and well, that's why you can call a vodka no matter where it's made. So legally speaking, it's not even a rum. And then you look at the technicalities of how it's made and everything. It's not even made from cane sugar. It's made from a grain liquor, so it's still not even a rum. It's closer to food dye crusted. It's a mess. Like, stick to video games. And actually, don't stick to video games. Stick to licensing things out. That's what you do best. You don't even make the games best. You have kind of the Disney byproduct of where you have these licenses. You just need to let somebody else touch them. Because every time you touch them, we get Fallout 76 and horse armor. Yeah, anybody remember horse armor from Oblivion? These motherfuckers will have the worst DLCs ever, and then turn around and also have the best DLCs ever, and then turn around and throw shade at you for not liking their crappier DLCs. What the fuck? Like, what is it with the Fallout and crappy DLCs? Nobody asked for these. Like, and some of these DLCs are so bad they should have been in the game anyways. Like with Fallout 3, the game ending after the main quest line, which you were basically hemmed into. Just like in Skyrim, you were just basically hemmed into it. Like, okay. And, speaking of quest lines and things you're hemmed into, Bashir that made a Pirates of the Caribbean game. It was an RPG where you could go around the world. You could go to the Caribbean. You could go to Great Britain. You could go to a couple other places. And it was really good. But the game immediately forces you into the quest line. Sound familiar? And if you're not careful, you end at the very end of the game. Game's complete, game's over. What the fuck, man? Quit doing that. Fallout 1 and 2 didn't do that. New Vegas didn't. They're like, hey, you can run to the very end of the game right now. They literally made a thing. They gave you 3 pathways to different game. But the pathway they want you to take is the one that makes you go to Nipton and makes you go to another place. Makes you go to like 3 other places before you even get there. They wanted you to explore. And then the DLCs, like, let's look at the DLCs. We have Dead Money, which is out in the middle of fucking nowhere, because they wanted you to go look over there. And that they intentionally put that in a spot where it's like most players don't go this area. But then they had, the other one with Ulysses Grant. Yeah. And that one's on the way of the path you're supposed to take. Old Money DLC. Or no, not Old Money. Old World DLC. Same thing. And even when you get to the Honest Hearts DLC, it's at the near the end of the game, basically what would be the end of the game. But they wanted to put it there so it's just like one final thing for you to do at the very end, so that hopefully you don't just rush in and end the game immediately. You look at the Zeta Beta ship one, and it's like kind of nowhere to be seen. There was another one. Oh, and then there was Point Lookout. And Point Lookout is like right next to, another city, a city you've already been to, so you can just fast travel straight to it. And then there was another one, and 2 of them, to their credit, allow you to kind of extend the game by going to the places that you normally wouldn't go to or whatnot. But the other 2 don't. They don't really do that. And my God, the Creation Club and the monetization of it is just terrible. It doesn't offer anything I couldn't just get off of Nexus Mods. And since we're on the topic of Engine and Nexus Mods and Creation Club, let's get into everything. The community surrounding mods is the worst community. Don't ask for help from any of them. Ask your friend who knows how to mod before you ask anyone. Don't go on to Reddit. Don't go onto the Nexus community. All of those motherfuckers are toxic as shit. They will not listen. They will insist you use a particular mod, even if you just tell them, I don't want to use this mod because it breaks every 2 months and I don't want to keep updating. I want mods that will last forever. You tell them something like that, their fucking head explodes. Okay? And it's not just like 1 or 2. They will gather in swarms in your comments section like a fucking pack of hungry harpies. and have like full on communications of why you're the world's biggest piece of shit right in your comments section. That's what, and I feel bad for the modders who make these mods because they also have to deal with it. Oh yeah, no, some of these mods just take time. They're difficult to make. They don't work quite right, and that's fine, you know. But they try. They're like, hey, I'm working on this. You know, they communicate, and these people will still go in the section just worst fucking community. They're worse than the Call of Duty community. The only community that's worse than them is the Left 4 Dead community. Have you seen those guys? Those guys just they join a match and then leave before the match even begins. Like that's you know terrible, terrible communities. And here's the other thing. Speaking of mods, you get on there, you get on Nexus mods and everything. The game's just not complete without mods. Fallout 4, for example, great gunplay, terrible armory. So it download a bunch of weapon mods and it becomes a really good game and really fun game to play. Okay, any of these games can be enhanced greatly by mods, and that's what I recommend. You have modders that will fly up and spin around the fucking moon and lap around the earth 3 times and then deliver like the mod from Jesus Christ himself. Okay. And these guys will do it and everything, and they don't ask for so much as an endorsement or a thank you. They just fucking do it. They're amazing, they're excellent, and sometimes these mods take forever. Sometimes these guys just and it's just like, whoa, dude, you just whip that out of your ass. Like, what the fuck? They just sprinkle some pixie dust and it's like, oh, I'm going to download this mod. It makes it amazing. And they list in the description like, hey, this mod has this issue, that issue, that here's what I'm working on, here's what I'm going to do to fix it. Then there's this other issue, follow along because I'll be, and they'll post an exact date of when they're going to get done, and then they'll get it done like 2 fucking weeks early. Love those guys. Absolutely fantastic. Most of the time, those guys don't just do mods for Fallout. They do mods for Project Zomboid and all these other places. Great guys. Okay? If you're one of those modders, pat yourself on the back. Then there's the other, like, chud modder. They're like, my mod's superior, but it doesn't work with any of these things, and I'm not going to do anything to fix it. It's like, I can understand, like, one mod not working with this other mod. For example, if you look on Remington 700 mods, there's like 500 different ones, and none of them work with each other because the files have Remington in the name, and so they just don't work because of that. That's completely understandable. That makes sense. Okay, there's going to be overlaps in files, and it's going to cause issues. Normal. The Mac 10 mod, there's like 2 of them. If you download either of those mods, they don't work with the Uzi mods, they don't work with G18 mods, they don't work with FMG9. Anything else that's a machine pistol, they absolutely do not work with. And it doesn't make any sense. It's not the same gun. What did you guys name your files? And here's the other thing, the other mods work fine with each other altogether, so it's just the Mac 10 mod. It's like, well, fuck this. I'll just delete it and download the MP7 mod. The MP7 is just basically a Heckler & Co. fucking Mac 10 anyways. Seriously, a Mac 10, by the way, and a MP7, the only difference is the MP7 has roller delay blowback, whereas the Mac 10 is just direct blowback. So, the more you know. But they just pump this like lazy excuse. One of them I saw was a T2M-25 plasma phase rifle and 40-watt range on Nexus. It's the only one. This guy is an absolute clusterfuck of stupid. He puts this out there and he's like, I will not do any attachments, and because this is how the mod should be. So you just like in the T2 Terminator movie, uh, here's the other thing. In Terminator 1, we know that there's different plasma rifles because the T800 in that movie expressly explains that he wants a 40-watt range. So it tells me that there's other wattage ranges. And then in T2, if you look closely, you can see that there's Terminators with different plasma rifles. They have different ones. Terminator Salvation, we see more of this. Okay. In other Terminator movies, we see that there is different plasma rifles. Hell, John Connor, he's not firing the same category of plasma rifle, but he's got his own. Okay. So I don't understand why why you would go through, spend all the time making a lot, and not do different attachments, different calibers, different versions. Here's the other thing: between the 7 movies that are out there and the thousands of different comics and the hundreds of video games out there on Terminator, you would think that he would be able to draw some source material and make camos or something. No. And what about the bugs, you might ask? Well, there's one bug apparently where you pull the trigger once and it mag dumps the whole magazine. So in a video game, a fictional laser weapon fires out of battery. And basically it's just like you might as well have just used I don't know, like a Fat Man or something, because you're only getting one shot of a laser rifle. So, and he's like, I'm gonna fix it, and then he just never does. And his comment section just keeps piling up with more people complaining about the same thing. And that's an example. It's not a one-off thing. You have to read mods very carefully because people are just fucking lazy. You got guys who shit gold dust and rainbows come out of their ass, and they hand deliver a mod to your front door that was like handcrafted by Jesus Christ himself. Okay. And then you have other modders that are just like, I'm cranky, I'm fat, lazy, and stupid. And I don't get it. And then you have what we call the collaborators, and those guys are great. They usually do really good stuff. But one thing I hate about them is they can't just make one mod that does one thing. No, they got to include like 40 other mods you got to download, and it's just like, dude, I really like your mod, but I don't want to download 10 other things. Why am I downloading this mod that allows me to see through scopes when I already have the mod see through scopes? Why didn't you just use that mod? And usually it boils down to that they just wanted to be different. There was no other particular reason. Or maybe they did their own version of a mod and they want people to download it, so they refuse to use much better and easier mods. We can't just have a one all-encompassing thing. And then we have the other mods where these guys, they don't have level list integration. The most basic thing for items, just level list them, just integrate them in the world. That doesn't involve me opening the chem lab. Like, how boring is that? And just immersion breaking and annoying. I absolutely avoid those mods like the plague. And then the other type of mod, they put the mod out there, it's got some cool pictures or something, but does it have pictures of the actual mod? No. You go to the description, it's like Sparkle Fart Jr. It's like, okay, what does that have to do with the mod? Just fucking, their descriptions are terrible. Their images tell you nothing. The name doesn't even tell you anything. The name is like something completely unrelated. And it's just like, God, I thought I turned on my spam filter, or I thought Nexus, had some quality control, but apparently they don't. You see those mods, and it's just like, why the fuck did I even bother? It's like, how many filters do I have to put on my thing to never see your stupid fucking bullshit ever again? And then, because there's more, oh my god, the Wikipedia nerds. Actually, and it's like, you go to the Wikipedia because you want to know some lore, you want to know some things, or hey, I never found this, I don't remember where it was at, or oh hey, I got stuck in a room and it's kind of goofy and silly. Jesus Christ, fucking hair in my eye. You get those guys. They come in and they spout some fucking bullshit, and then you try it out and it doesn't even work. It doesn't even do anything. And it's just like, and if you correct them on it, or if you like, hey, this doesn't work, you're like, actually, and it's like, dude, I just played my game and I just told you it doesn't work. So don't go, actually, yeah. It's just like, if you have an idea of something, cool. If you just made it up in your head and you're on the forums of some game and telling us about it and you're full of shit, people are going to figure out real quickly that you're just full of shit and you never even actually played the game. So fuck off. And then here's the other thing I really absolutely hate. No matter what Fallout game we're talking about, there's always one category of weapon that just exceeds her. Fallout 1 and 2 were somewhat balanced, I guess. Okay, but Fallout 3, it's like laser weapons. Just use the laser weapons. That's all you ever need to use. Don't worry about anything else. You're not missing out. They absolutely overpower everything. They're better than anything else. Fallout New Vegas, explosive weapons and shotguns specifically. If you want to just absolutely breeze through the game, just use a shotgun or use a grenade launcher. Don't need to touch anything else. But in Fallout New Vegas, at least some of the other guns you could kind of use them. They're just not as good. And then Fallout 4, it's just like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to use this machine gun again and touch literally nothing else. That there's no reason to use anything other than a machine gun. Even if you're a stealth build, if you put a suppressor on a machine gun and just hose the enemy with bullets, you're still stealthy somehow. Even though that the enemy can literally see the bullets flying around. And I can't think of any other Fallout game where you can just hose somebody with a machine gun and still be in stealth. I really can't. It's just like, really? It's like, okay, well, I might as well just use a machine gun no matter what I'm doing. If you fight enemies at a distance, way higher level than you at a distance or anything, even if you're using a sniper, just use the spray and pray. Just hose explosive bullets in their general vicinity, and you will win. That's it. Once you get the spray and pray, the game is completely over. Realistically, if you get any legendary effects, I'm so tired of those. Like, can we just remove those from the game? There's a mod for that, by the way, and it really does enhance the game. And then finally, the health pool. Fallout New Vegas had a health cap. Fallout 3 had a health cap. Every other game had a health cap. But Fallout 4 has no health cap. So it gets to the point where some enemies are so powerful, health-wise, that it takes 6 or 7 hours to kill one. Just because that's how much health they have. They just scale on forever. And the player character scales on forever. And it's boring. Nobody wants to play with that. Nobody wants to play to that point. Like, fuck that. So health skilling is another thing that, and it's in 76 too, by the way. If you get a high enough level, you just become a god. You become untouchable by anything. But then also everything never dies. And it's a multiplayer game, so of course you can just go and harass and intimidate new players for all eternity and time, and there's nothing that they can do. They might as well just bow to you and worship to you, because not even fucking Jesus can save them from you. It's just like, okay, well, it's clear we throw those things out the window, like gameplay balance or entertainment. And so now I gotta download a fuck ton of mods to fix that. Like, couldn't you just, like, I don't know, copied Call of Duty? You copied aim down sights from them. You copied, like, all these other things from them. Like, just go copy a little bit more. Just add a difficulty where it's like everybody dies in like 3 bullets, like Call of Duty. Just add that as a difficulty option. People really want to play with a bullet sponge for 7 hours to kill one enemy. Fine. And here's the other thing: it's not just in Fallout; it's in Skyrim too. The funnest way to play the game is to never level up. Try it; it'll absolutely blow your mind. But then it's like you're only experiencing half the game. So that's also kind of annoying.